All right, everyone. We start off today talking about the Texas GOP and the Ten Commandments. This was an issue like a decade ago. Apparently, they've decided to dig it out of its grave and revive it in a new form, actually. This is a video about how to lose, which is what the GOP does when it does this sort of shit, instead of focusing on things that are actually meaningful. It's the Texas Bill 5151. And I fact-checked it. I read the actual bill itself because I figured, well, maybe people are being hyperbolic about the actual content of the bill. And it doesn't actually propose what, unfortunately, it does propose, which would force every public school in Texas to mount the Ten Commandments up on the wall of every classroom, breaching the separation of church and state, a la the Establishment Clause. I hear all sorts of dumb opinions about this. I'm standing my ground on this particular issue. This is not the way to go about winning for the GOP. You have a debt crisis looming with the debt ceiling problem going on right now. You have schools being filled with communism and shit like that. Instead of fixating on, again, the overstretching of the left, they've done this on abortion. Northam passes effectively, abortion is legal up to the point of birth. The Republicans, naturally, are upset about this. The majority of the population sides with the GOP. What does the GOP do? It immediately starts drafting just as crazy legislation that effectively bans abortion entirely, even prescribing, in some cases, jail time to people that try to travel to another state to get one. And it's all sorts of screwed up. This is not the way in which you win a culture war. Some people disagree with me. They say, well, if they're trying to drag it in one direction, you have to drag it in the other direction, and then you have the thesis-antithesis thing go on. Please tell me when the GOP has successfully done that. Please show me an example. See, it doesn't work. The GOP is not good at messaging in that sense. Here's why this would violate the First Amendment. These are taxpayer-funded schools. This bill explicitly forces them to put up only one specific religion's particular dogma. If you were to say every school has to have a comparative religion room and different religions can be represented there, that might not, including irreligion. You know, the atheist, the flying spaghetti monster, could have a statue in the comparative religion mausoleum or something. You want to put the Ten Commandments there, that's fine. And if it's a religious school that's not publicly funded, that's fine too. If you want religion instilled in your kids, by the way, do you really want the government doing that? Don't you think they might have a different take on religion, a different interpretation of Christianity, of Christian dogma than you probably have? I mean, mainly they worship money. Maybe this is somehow tied in with that. They think that people will tithe more at church if people are more religious or something, and then the evangelical donor base will loosen the purse strings more or something. There's no way to put it. This is a losing effort. It's not going to be upheld anyway should it finally pass and be signed, because it's so clearly a violation of the First Amendment, for one thing. Number two, you've just, again, you've taken an issue in which the GOP has the moral high ground, the issue of schooling and the indoctrination of kids. The leftists want them taught about anal plugs and to abandon the concept of chromosomes, of course, and indoctrinate them with critical race theory that's literally based partially on communism and teaches a revisionist version of history that's not historical at all. That's what the left wants. You have won on this issue, GOP. The moral majorityists have won on that issue. A vast plurality of every demographic in the United States opposes it. There is no bloc that supports it by and large. Even the youngest, most liberal voting blocs don't support teaching CRT in schools. So what does the GOP do? Hey, people are applauding us for opposing this indoctrination of kids. Let's indoctrinate kids more. Sort of ties into the concept that if prayer was brought back to schools, all of a sudden mass shootings would stop. I don't think that that would actually happen. That starts at home. It starts with parents teaching their kids. If you want to teach your kids, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, etc., you raise them, right? They live in your household. There are some kids that, live in government homes, but by and large, they live at home with their parents or relatives or whatever, their guardians, and you can teach them religion all you want. That would be the proper thing to do. If you want to go hyper-religious, don't put them in a public school anyway. Homeschool them and go ahead and indoctrinate them there. The government's going to try to indoctrinate them anyway. Do you really trust the state of the United States, or even the Texas government as a subjugate to that? Do you really trust any statist governing body to instill good values in our kids again? Values are breaking down because families are coming apart. They're less concerned with the well-being of their children. They're not as active in their life. They're just not as involved at this point. It is largely parents' fault. The state cannot replace your parents. That's my problem with this. Beyond the constitutional argument, beyond the political strategy, it's just not going to work. It's wrong. And in the meantime, again, you're opening the door. Let's say that you support this. So you're Deus Vult all the time, and you think it's good that the government should teach your kids what morality is. I think that's a losing proposition. I disagree with you, but you've got that view. What would stop the state of Michigan from saying, oh, that's a neat bill you've got there? We're going to have the Pillars of Islam put up in every classroom in the state of Michigan. Yeah, we're going to teach kids those values. Hey, we're going to have Buddhist principles up on the wall. Hey, state of California, we fucking hate religion. Flying spaghetti monster posters are now required in every classroom. By the way, you're just waiting for some absurdist group to push a law like that. All they have to do is find one state congressperson who's on their way out anyway to sponsor such a thing. Maybe Santos there can do it. All they've got to do is get one wonky hippie from California to sponsor a bill there that goes forth that is a verbatim replica of this, except that it's a poster of the flying spaghetti monster or of Satan or something like that. And you've been owned because it will make a mock. I mean, it's the same bill. It's the same constitutional premise. It would be tied to the same inevitable judiciary case over whether it was legal. Pro tip, it would be immediately injuncted. It would be treated the same way because that's the way the law works in these cases. Hell, I think that most people would be more amenable to the flying spaghetti monster since at least it's clear satire, although it is technically a de facto religion as well. I think it's in the recognized sense too, Pastafarianism, by the way. You could have the Church of the Pink Unicorn. The Church of Satan could get involved. The Satanic Temple, they're good at doing things like this. From thence on forth, they say, and they'll probably fucking Vermont State House or something like that, we will have religious iconography in the classrooms. It will be a picture of Dawkins, picture of famous atheists with the caption, "God does not exist, go fuck yourself," or something like that. It would be equally legal under the concept, the premise of the United States. I would point out that while the people who founded the United States were by and large believers in Jesus Christ, there are a few of them that appear to have been more on the agnostic side, but most of them, they believed in the Bible. Very few of them were actually religious individuals. Many of them were openly hostile towards organized religion. They preferred wine and women and philosophy and sort of had that hoity-toity, almost French outlook on life, more hedonistic in some ways and also much more into science and philosophy. They discussed religion. They also discussed space aliens. Jefferson had his opinions on this. Made his own version of the Bible, actually, at one point. Was interested, at least, in the basic study of Islam. These people studied comparative religion. They went out into their fields and worked, or they went to the town hall to debate some political topic. Some of them were not really known as churchgoers. Benjamin Franklin, for example, famously, well, lighthouses are more useful than churches. If you're in the nautical trade, I would probably think that people agree with you. So there you have it. I mean, it's not constitutional. It's not helpful. It doesn't make sense. You're opening yourself up to a volley of satirical attacks that'll make you look like fuddy-duddies, actually. Gen Z is going to love that one if the Pastafarians get involved. Thank you, Texas GOP. Real cool. Instead of tackling real issues, you're making a doomed-to-fail attempt to inject religion into public school system. Yeah, it's what year is this? 2003 or something? That's about all. Peace out.